everyone. Welcome to another exciting video on cybersecurity by Edureka. In today's video, we will explore John the Ripper, a powerful tool for cracking passwords and conducting security audits. If you have ever wondered how hackers evaluate password strengths or how ethical hackers analyze a system's security, John the Ripper is an essential tool for this process. Today, we will explain how this tool works and how you can use it to crack passwords, zip files, and more. But before we begin, let's take a quick look at what we will be covering in today's video. First, we will start by understanding John the Ripper and why is it an essential tool for security testing. Next, we will explain what a hash is and how it's related to password security. Then, we will walk you through how to install John the Ripper, both in CLI mode and using the 𝐂𝐝𝐿 interface. Next, we will explore the different modes available in John such as single, word list, and incremental modes. Next, we will dive into how John applies rules to modify word list for more effective password cracking. You will learn how default rules work and how to create custom ones to enhance your cracking strategy. Next, we will show you how to crack password using various techniques including word list, incremental, and cracking multiple hashes together. Finally, we will show you how to use the Johnny GUI for a more user-friendly password cracking experience. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest tech content from Edureka. Also, visit the Edureka website for various training and certification courses. The link to the website is in the description box below. Alright, so let's start with the basics. So, what exactly is John the Ripper? Well, John the Ripper is an open source password security auditing and password recovery tool. It's a favorite among security professionals, ethical hackers, and penetration testers because it helps them identify weak passwords by cracking them. John the Ripper is available for multiple operating systems like Linux, Windows, and Mac OS, making it a versatile tool for different platforms. The reason it's so widely used is because it supports an enormous variety of password hashes and encryption methods. John doesn't just stop at cracking simple passwords. It's capable of cracking hundreds of hash and cipher types. Whether it's user passwords from Unix-based systems like Linux, password hashes from Windows, or encrypted files like zip and RAR archives, John the Ripper can handle it all. So let me elaborate a bit more. John the Ripper is incredibly versatile in terms of the range of tasks it can perform. It supports password hashes from web applications including WordPress, encrypted private keys such as SSH, JPG, and cryptocurrency wallets, network traffic captures like Wi-Fi, and even documents such as PDFs and Microsoft Office files. Now, before we get into the topics, let's talk about what makes John the Ripper such a popular tool in cybersecurity. So here are the key features of John the Ripper. First, the cross-platform compatibility. It works seamlessly across multiple operating systems such as Linux, Mac OS, and Windows, making it suitable for a range of environments. Next, customizable attacks. You can fine-tune the cracking process by using custom word lists and creating rules to target specific types of passwords. Next is the versatile cracking modes. John supports directory-based attacks, brute force, and even hybrid attacks, allowing you to choose the most effective approach for different scenarios. Next, the wide range of hash and cipher support. John the Ripper supports a wide range of formats from Unix and Windows hashes to encrypted files and network traffic captures. And next, we have efficiency. John is optimized to crack passwords quickly, taking advantage of different CPU architectures to maximize performance. Now, when it comes to cybersecurity applications, John the Ripper shines in both offensive and defensive roles. Offensive security experts use John to assess the strength of passwords during penetration testing and security audits. By identifying weak passwords, they help organizations improve their security posture and enforce better password policies. On the other hand, John can also help recover forgotten passwords. If someone has lost access to a system or file, John can help crack the password and restore access. So, whether you're conducting a security audit or recovering lost credentials, John the Ripper is a critical tool in cybersecurity. Now that we have got a basic understanding of John the Ripper, so let's dive into one of the most important concepts when it comes to password cracking, that is hashing. So, what exactly is a hash? A hash is like a digital fingerprint of a piece of data like a password. So imagine you're taking a picture of a unique object with a camera. The picture or image represents that object, but it's not the object itself. You can't reverse the image to get back to the object. Similarly, a hash takes a piece of data like a password and turns into a fixed length of string of characters, and this string is the hash. Now, why do we use hashes in password storage? So in simple terms, strong plain text passwords would be a huge security risk. So if a hacker gains access to a database, they will see the passwords in their original form. But when passwords are hashed, even if somebody steals the hashed value, it's incredibly hard to reverse the process and retrieve the original password. So here's where the John the Ripper comes into play. It helps to crack these hashes, meaning it tries to guess what the original password might have been based on the hash. Now, there are several types of hashing algorithms that are used for storing passwords. So let us take a look at few of the most common ones. So here we have MD5. Once widely used, MD5 generates a 128-bit hash value. However, it is now considered insecure because it's vulnerable to collisions, and this means two different inputs can produce the same hash value. Next, SHA-256. This is the part of the SHA-2 family, which is more secure than MD5. It generates a 256-bit hash and it is used in many modern security applications, including Bitcoin wallets. Next, we have bcrypt. This is another popular hash function designed for password hashing. It's much lower than MD5 or SHA-256, which makes it more resistant to brute force attacks. So, why is cracking these hashes important for security testing? Well, when security professionals run tests on systems, they want to check how easily an attacker could crack the hashes of stolen passwords. By doing this, they can identify weaknesses in the system and suggest stronger, more secure password policies. Alright, now that we have got a good understanding of what John the Ripper is and how hashes work, so let's get started with installing it. I will show you how to set up John the Ripper in CLI mode for those who prefer working with the command line, and also in GUI mode using Johnny for those who want a user-friendly interface. So first, let's talk about installing the CLI version of John the Ripper. So if you're using Kali Linux, John the Ripper usually comes pre-installed with the system. Now, to check if it's already installed, just type John in the terminal. If it's not installed, you can easily install it by running the following command. This command will install the John the Ripper on your system. Once it's installed, you can verify it by typing apt show John or john-help in the terminal, which should give you the version of John the Ripper. Now, let's move on to the GUI mode using Johnny. So Johnny is a graphical interface for the John the Ripper that makes it easier for beginners to use. So here's how to set it up. Step 1 is open the terminal and add the repository for Johnny. So here, let us type sudo apt install Johnny. Next, step 2 is launch Johnny. So simply type Johnny in the terminal to open the graphical user interface. So this is how you can install John the Ripper in both CLI and GUI form. Now that we have installed John the Ripper, and it's time to explore one of its core features, the modes it uses to crack passwords. John the Ripper supports several cracking modes, each designed for specific scenarios. So understanding these modes will help you to decide which one to use based on your objective. So let's break them down one by one. First, single mode. The single mode is the simplest and fastest cracking mode in John. This mode uses the username and other related information from the password file as potential guesses. And this mode is ideal for quick checks or when you suspect that users might have used simple password based on their username or profile data. Like for example, if a username is something like this mode might try Vinith, Chaturvedi or combinations like Vinith123. Next is the word list mode, one of the most commonly used modes. And this mode takes a predefined list of passwords like a word list and tests each one against the hash. And this is perfect if you already have a word list of common or likely passwords such as the popular rawq.txt file which is on our Kali mission. For example, imagine you're testing the strength of an MD5 hash, such as this one. So using a word list, John will compare each password in the list, hash it, and match it against the target hash. Next, incremental mode. The incremental mode is the most powerful and exhaustive option. This mode tries every possible combination of characters, starting with shorter ones and gradually increasing in length. So this mode is useful when you have no idea what the password might be, but keep in mind that it can be very time consuming. So let's say you have a hash for a password, but you know it's only 4 characters long. So using incremental mode, John will systematically try combinations something like this, as you can see on the screen. So if the password is 𝐶2𝐻, incremental mode will eventually identify it, even though it does not rely on a predefined word list. However, due to the sheer number of possible combinations, the time required increases significantly as the password length increases. Finally, we have the external mode, which is highly customizable. And this mode allows you to write custom cracking rules using a built-in programming language. And this lets you to create specific patterns or sequences for password testing. Here, select this mode when the regular option does not meet your requirements and you want to customize the cracking process for a specific situation. So let's say you're testing passwords for a company and you suspect employees use a specific pattern such as the company name followed by a year. For example, password might look something like this, as you can see on the screen, and so on. So using external mode, you can write a rule to test variations of this pattern, increment the year, or try different case combinations. Something like this. John will then handle the process systematically following your custom rules. Now that we have explored the various modes in John the Ripper, let's explore them further and see how rules can enhance these modes to make password cracking even more efficient. So what are rules in John? Rules allow you to modify or enhance word lists dynamically. Instead of using a static list of passwords, John can tweak each entry in multiple ways to try different variations, such as adding numbers, changing cases, or substituting characters. And by default, John comes with pre-configured rules designed to make word list more effective. So some of these default rules include appending numbers, which adds numbers to the end of words, like changing password to password 123. Next, capitalization variants, which tries password something like this. Next, least speaks substitution, which replaces characters with common substitutions like turning password into this, as you can see on the screen. Next, moving on to customizing rules. John also allows you to set your own rules through its configuration file. You can customize these rules for particular cracking situations or to mirror the patterns you think users may use. Now, let's create a simple rule. Imagine you suspect passwords include a common suffix like 2025. So here's how you can add a rule to test this. First, log in as a super user. Next, go to John's native directory, which is cd/etc/John. Then, open John's configuration file, which is john.config using Nano Editor. Now, let us search for list.rules section. So as you can see, this is the rule that we are using. And this rule appends digits to the end of each word in your word list. Next, save the file. And this is how you can add your custom rule to the configuration file. But why are rules important? Rules significantly expand the effectiveness of cracking attempts without the need for massive word lists. And they allow you to adapt to real-world password patterns such as adding birth years or common suffixes, switching between uppercase and lowercase letters, and then handling specific password policies. And with the flexibility of default and custom rules, John the Ripper becomes a powerful tool for tackling even complex passwords. Now that we have covered the basics of John the Ripper and the modes it supports, so let's start with cracking passwords using John the Ripper, focusing on the complete setup and exploitation process. Now, we will walk you through cracking passwords with different modes as well as some advanced use cases to handle more complex scenarios. Step 1. Prepare the hash file. First, we need a hash file to work with. So this file contains the encrypted passwords we are trying to crack. Like for example, so let's assume we have a hash file called hashfile.txt, which contains various password hashes. Now, you can get these hashes from different sources such as password dumps or testing environments. Step 2 is to prepare the word list file. Next, we will need a word list file, and this file is used for the word list mode, where John tries various combination of words from a list against the hash file to crack the password. For this, prepare a file called wordlist.txt, and it will contain commonly used passwords or words that are likely to be the password. Now, instead of creating our custom word list, we can use the popular 𝐸𝑞.txt word list that comes pre-installed on Kali Linux. This massive word list contains millions of commonly used passwords, which can significantly increase our chances of cracking a password. However, the 𝐸𝑞.txt file is compressed, so you will need to unzip it first. So how to unzip the 𝐸𝑞.txt word list? Step 1. Open your terminal in Kali Linux. In step 2, navigate to the directory where the word list is located. In step 3, unzip the 𝐸𝑞.txt file, and this will unzip the file and give you access to the 𝐸𝑞.txt word list. And once unzipped, you can now use the 𝐸𝑞.txt word list in your cracking attempts. Now, there are few things that we need to talk about before we begin with cracking passwords. Firstly, let's quickly examine the various hash formats that John the Ripper supports. And this is important because knowing the format of the hash you are working with is essential for effective password cracking. So John supports a wide variety of formats like MD5, SHA-1, SHA-256, NTLM, bcrypt, and many others. And to see all the supported formats, you will use the following command in our terminal. And the command is John --list equal to formats. So you will see a list of formats that John can handle, categorized by type. And this include common formats like raw MD5, bcrypt, and SHA-512, as well as more specialized formats like zip and shadow. Now, we also need to discuss John the Ripper's basic syntax. So understanding the syntax will make it easier to use John effectively in different scenarios. So let's try to understand the basic syntax with an example. So the syntax is John #file.txt -- format equal to raw MD5. Well, John runs the John the Ripper program. Next, #file.txt specifies the file that contains the hashes we want to crack. Then -- format equal to raw MD5 specifies the hash format as a raw MD5, and this ensures John knows what type of hashes it's working with. Now, moving on to step 3, cracking passwords with John the Ripper. Now that we have everything set up and our basics are clear, so let's jump into the actual password cracking process. We will start with a single mode and work with the #file.txt, which currently contains just one hashed password. So if we take a look at our hashed password, so as you can see on the screen, Vinith is the username, and this is the hashed password in the MD5 format, and these are the placeholders or separators typically used to accommodate additional informations like salt or metadata. Now, to crack this password, we will use a single mode. Since we know the hash type is MD5, we will explicitly specify the format using the following command. So this is the command John --single #file.txt -- format equal to raw -MD5. Here, John, this invokes the John the Ripper. Then --single specifies that we want to use the single mode, where John will try simple password based on patterns like the username or its variations. Next, #file.txt. This is the file containing our hash entry. And next, -- format equal to raw -MD5. This explicitly tells John to treat the hash as MD5. Now, once we run this command, John will attempt to crack the password using variations of the username Vinith and other simple patterns. Now, as you can see, the password Vinith123 is successfully cracked in single mode. Now, before we move on to the word list mode, let's add a few more entries to our #file.txt to make things more interesting. So, each of these entries represent a username and an MD5 hashed password. Now, to crack this password, we will need a word list like the one we have created by the name of wordlist.txt. Okay, before that, let us save this. And now let us open the wordlist.txt in our nano editor. So as you can see the screen, here we have added some random passwords. Now we will use wordlist mode to crack these passwords. So let us type the command john --wordlist equal to wordlist.txt #file.txt --format equal to raw-md5. So here the --wordlist equal to wordlist.txt specifies the word list we want to use. Next, the #file.txt. This is our input file containing the hashed password. Also, followed by we have --format equal to raw-md5, which tells the format of the hashes in the file. So when you run the above command, you will see something like this. So here's what happening. John reads each hash from #file.txt and then it tries every password from the wordlist.txt against each hash, and once it finds a match, it reveals the password next to the username. Now let's see all cracked password after this session. So for that, let us type the command john --show #file.txt --format equal to raw-md5. Here, the --show option tells the John to output the cracked password in the readable format, showing the usernames along with the plain text passwords. So as you can see, all passwords have been successfully cracked. So before we move ahead and use incremental mode, we will modify our #file.txt with updated hash values for each user. And these hashes correspond to the new password that include mixed caching. Now here we have updated the hash file. And let us save this. Now, before we move ahead and use incremental mode to crack these passwords, let's quickly go over the rules we discussed earlier. And these rules are going to be super helpful here. So the key rule we will be using here is the shift toggle rule, which is one of the most common rules in the John the Ripper. And this rule applies changes like alternating the case of characters in the word list, switching lowercase to uppercase and vice versa. So we will also modify our wordlist.txt file to contain just the usernames, since we want to test these usernames with variations like shifting the case. So these are the users' name that we have updated. Now let us save this. Now let's use this shift toggle rule to see the possible variation of these usernames. And this rule toggles the case of each letter. So for this, let us type the command john --rules equal to shift toggle --wordlist equal to wordlist.txt --stdout. Next, pipe more. Now here, the John, this is the command to invoke John the Ripper. Next, the --rules equal to shift toggle. This tells John to apply the shift toggle rule while processing the word list. Followed by which we have --wordlist equal to wordlist.txt, and this specifies the input word list file that contains the username that we want to process. Next, the --stdout, this tells John to print the generated word list variation after applying the shift toggle rule to the screen instead of attempting to crack passwords. And finally, we have the pipe more. This is used to view the output one page at a time. So if you have a large number of variations, you can scroll them in a manageable way. Now, in this way, we can generate a variety of password candidates that might match the hashed password. Now, we will move on to using the incremental mode with the shift toggle rule to crack these passwords. Alright, since we have a limited number of passwords and don't want to specify every possible variation manually, incremental mode will automatically attempt every combination of characters and words. So now let us type the command john --rules equal to shift toggle. Next, --wordlist equal to wordlist.txt followed by #file.txt, then --format equal to raw-md5. So in this command, the --rules equal to shift toggle specifies the shift toggle rule that we are using during password generation. Next, --wordlist equal to wordlist.txt tells John to use the file wordlist.txt as the source of potential passwords. Next, #file.txt specifies the file containing the hashes you are trying to crack. And then we also have the --format equal to raw-md5, This indicates the type of hash used in the hashfile.txt. Now, let the cracking process run. And depending on the complexity of the password and your system's performance, this could take a while. And after the process is completed, let's try to view the passwords. So for that, let us type the command john-show hashfile.txt --format equal to raw-md5. As you can see, John has successfully cracked the hash passwords in our hashfile.txt file. Now, let's move on to cracking multiple files together. And this is useful when you need to crack different types of hashes such as MD5, SHA-1, etc. simultaneously. Now, before that, we will modify the wordlist.txt with the possible passwords. So as you can see the screen, these are the passwords that I have updated. Next, we're going to create 3 files which will contain the hashed passwords. Alright. Now we have created the files. Next, we're going to specify the hashed passwords like this. And we are going to do similarly for the next 2 files. Now, let's try to crack all these files together. So for this, let us type the command john-wordlist equal to wordlist.txt --format equal to raw-md5. And followed by this, we will specify the file names. Okay, so when the above command runs, John will begin cracking the hashes in these files using the specified word list. After John completes the cracking process, you can view the cracked passwords. So for this, let us type the command john-show --format equal to raw-md5 and then followed by specify the file names. Alright, so this command will display the cracked password for each hash in the files. Now, let's move on to cracking a shadow file. But first, let's understand what a shadow file is. So the shadow file is a system file in Unix-based operating systems such as Linux that stores the password hashes for all the system accounts. So unlike the etc/password file, which is readable by all users, the etc/shadow file is only accessible by the root user to ensure security. And this file contains password hashes and other related information. So in order to crack these password hashes, John the Ripper requires a combined format of both the etc/password and etc/shadow files. However, these files are stored separately, so we need to unshadow them before we can use them with John. So now, let us follow the steps. Step 1 is to unshadow the files. So the first step is to unshadow the etc/password and etc/shadow files. And the unshadow command helps us to combine both the files into a format that John the Ripper can understand. So make sure you're logged in as a super user for this process. So let's go ahead and unshadow these files. So type unshadow/etc/password/etc/shadow. Now we will be saving these files in our desktop using the file name unshadow.txt. So this will combine the contents of both the files into a single file called unshadow.txt. But why we need to unshadow? So the reason we need to unshadow the files is that John the Ripper requires both the user information and the password hashes in a single file for cracking. So when we unshadow the files, we get a combined file where each line contains both the username and its corresponding password hash in a format John can process. So without unshadowing, the hashes from etc/shadow would be separated from the usernames in etc/password, making it impossible for John to know which hash belongs to which username. Next, moving on to step 2, adding the custom user entry. So for that, open the unshadow.txt file in a text editor and add the user entry at the end. So this is how we need to do, and then save and close the file. Now that we have the unshadow.txt file, we can use John the Ripper to start cracking the password hashes. we will use the wordlist.txt word list to crack the shadow file, and you can also use the rawq.txt word list. So for that, let us type the command John -- wordlist equal to wordlist.txt -- format equal to raw -md5 unshadow.txt. So in this command, the -- wordlist equal to wordlist.txt specifies the wordlist file to use for cracking. Next, the -- format equal to raw -md5. This tells John to interpret the hashes as a raw MD5 hashes. Next, the unshadow.txt. This is the input file containing the password hashes you want to crack. So once the cracking process is completed, this might take some time depending on the system performance and the complexity of the passwords, and then you can review the cracked passwords. So to review the cracked passwords, let us type John --show --format equal to raw -md5 unshadow.txt. And this method efficiently cracks hashes from shadow files on Linux system. Lastly, we are going to see how we can crack the password of a zip file using John the Ripper. First, we have a file called hashfile.txt, and it contains some hashed passwords for users. To demonstrate, we will zip this file into a password-protected archive named hashfile.zip, and the password is Edureka. But we are going to pretend we don't know that, and we will use the John the Ripper to crack it. So let us follow the steps. Step 1, let's start by protecting the file. So for that, let us type zip -- password Edureka hashfile.zip hashfile.txt. Now, the file is locked and we are ready to generate its hash. Next, moving on to step 2. The next step is generating a hash that John the Ripper can understand. So for this, we will use the zip to John tool that comes with the John the Ripper. Let us type the command zip to John hashfile.zip, and next we will store this file in zip hash.txt. And this will extract the hash of the zip file and save it in zip hash.txt. Next, step 3. Now, let's crack the password. So we will use the John the Ripper and the wordlist.txt file to do this. Type John --wordlist equal to wordlist.txt followed by zip hash.txt. So here, John will now try all possible combinations from the word list to match the hash. And there you go. John has cracked the password, and it says that the password for the zip file is Edureka. Now, let's take a look at the Johnny GUI, which is the graphical user interface for John the Ripper. So using Johnny is a great way to make the password cracking process more initiative, especially for those who prefer a GUI over the command line interface. So, Johnny simplifies the entire process by providing a user-friendly interface for John the Ripper. So instead of manually entering commands, you can simply point, click and run your cracking task with just a few easy steps. So let us follow the steps. In step 1, launching Johnny. So to start, open Johnny on your Kali Linux machine. You can do this by searching for Johnny in the application menu, or you can run it in the following command in the terminal. So this will open up the Johnny GUI. Next, step 2 is loading the hash file. So once Johnny is open, the first thing you will want to do is load the hash file.txt that we have been using in our demo. Now, moving on to step 3, loading the word list. Next, we need to load the wordlist.txt or rawq.txt if you are using that to start cracking the password. So click on the word list button in the interface and select the word list you want to use. And in this case, you can either use wordlist.txt or rawq.txt. Next, step 4, starting the crack. Now, we are ready to begin cracking the hashes. So click on the start button to begin the password cracking process. Well, Johnny will start running the selected cracking methods such as wordlist mode against the hashes in your hash file using the wordlist.txt or rawq.txt. And you will see the progress as Johnny tries different password combinations. If it successfully cracks any password, the result will be displayed in the interface. Step 5 is reviewing results. So once the cracking process is complete, Johnny will show you the cracked password along with the hashes to which they correspond. So you can review the result directly within the Johnny UI. making it easy to analyze the output. Now, you might be wondering which one should I use, Johnny GUI or the CLI mode of John the Ripper. So let's quickly compare the two. First, let us talk about CLI mode. The advantages include ideal for advanced users who prefer to work in a terminal, and it is more flexible with complex options and customization, and also it's faster and more efficient for bulk cracking tasks. Talking about disadvantages, it requires you to manually type out commands which might be overwhelming for beginners, and it is also less visually initiative compared to Johnny. Next, Johnny GUI mode. So let us talk about the advantages. It is great for beginners and users who prefer a visual interface, and it is easier to use with drag and drop functionality. Also, it provides a real-time view of the cracking progress. Disadvantages are slightly less flexible for advanced configuration, and it may not be fast as CLI mode for large-scale cracking tasks. Alright, this brings us to the end of today's video on password cracking with John the Ripper. As we have discussed, John the Ripper is a powerful tool for password cracking, and with its various modes and features, it's an essential asset for security testing and penetration testing. So if you enjoyed listening to this video, please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment on any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Also, do look up for more videos and playlists and subscribe to Edureka's YouTube channel to learn more. Thank you and happy learning.